hello there. Welcome to another episode of We Need to Talk About ... Once again, I am the Big Daddy D, David Mabley, and I move like a pregnant yak.
And I am Luke Murphy. I don't wear a watch because watches are a confidence trick invented by the Swiss. The 80s were an interesting time in the UK. The miners' strike, terrorist bombings, the Falklands War, Maggie Thatcher. It certainly meant that growing up in the 1980s wasn't dull. But the 1980s also gave us a succession of action films, the likes of which have never been seen again. This was the decade of Rambo, Conan and McClane, where Stallone and Schwarzenegger ruled the box office, where brave American heroes took on the might of Red Russia and made the world safe for mom, dad and apple pie. When you look at the output of the US 80s action films, it's a miracle other genres of films were actually got made. And looking at the films made by the aforementioned Stallone and Arnie, they basically kept Hollywood in business all the way through the 1980s.
And of course, let's not take into consideration the output of what was coming from the likes of Chuck Norris, Jean-Claude Van Damme, or what Jackie Chan was doing in Hong Kong. But here at We Like to Talk About ... we never go with what's obvious. We tread the road rarely taken. So onto this, we present a forgotten gem of 80s action cinema.
Behold!
Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins, also known as Remo Williams Unarmed and Dangerous. What's this, you might ask? Well, I feel that once again we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, so let's start from the very beginning.
Adapted from a pulp novel series called The Destroyer by Warren Murphy and Richard Sapir, the story of Remo Williams was that of a Newark cop that was framed for a crime that he didn't commit and sentenced to death. His death is faked by the government so that he can be trained as an assassin for Cure, a secret organisation that doesn't officially exist, set up by President Kennedy to defend the country by working outside of the law.
It was within these novels that Orion Pictures saw the potential of bringing a blue-collar James Bond, with martial arts skills, to the cinema as a big-budget franchise. Ironically enough, Orion was a studio founded by a quartet of former United Artists executives, the then home of the James Bond franchise at the time. They were serious about Remo Williams becoming the next James Bond, so much so that they brought on British director Guy Hamilton to direct.
Now, Hamilton had a proven track record as a director and had been at the helm for a number of high-profile films in his career. Hamilton directed Battle of Britain in 1969, he directed Funeral in Berlin in 1966, which is the second Harry Palmer film, which is really, really good, but he's most famous for having previously helmed 4 James Bond films. Now, we're not talking any old James Bond films here. We're talking Goldfinger in 1964, we're talking Diamonds Are Forever in 71, and then Live and Let Die in 73, and The Man with the Golden Gun the year after. Adding to that James Bond connection even further, screenwriter Christopher Wood, who had previously wrote 2 Bond movies, The Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker, penned the script and tweaked Remo's origin a smidgen.
The movie was given a $14 million budget, amongst Orion's most expensive films at the time, and tons of publicity. And it promptly landed with a thud. The film was almost an instant flop for Orion Pictures, and a loss on the film almost certainly contributed to the studio's early 90s bankruptcy. But like many movies of the day, it found somewhat of a cult classic on home video, which makes it also sound a lot like Life Force for Canon films.
The story is a rather simplistic one given all the money that went into making the film. We begin in New York with city cop Sam Macon, and we've got all the typical tropes of a cop stakeout here. We have coffee, burger, Miss Piggy cup holder. Sorry, what?
He's just taking care of a group of thugs when his police car, with him inside, is pushed into the water. He's rescued by a secret government organisation called Cure, who actually caused the accident to begin with. Sam wakes up in a hospital to realise that he's lost his tash.
I was shaving you.
And he now looks like Fred Ward.
That's not me. What the hell have you done to me?
We did some work on you. Just your face.
But thank God you left me Junkalo, that's all I can say. Sorry.
You can do whatever you want to me face, but just leave me junk.
Leave John Thomas and the twins alone. Sorry.
You'd better have had a damn good reason.
We did. You were ugly.
The leader of Cure is Howard Smith, played by Wilford Brimley, who appeared in the likes of The Thing, Cocoon, and The High Road to China, to name but a few. He pretty much spends the entire movie working at his computer, which is meant to be so sophisticated that it has information on everything and everyone all around the world, yet he looks as though he couldn't even run a decent version of Missile Command.
Smith's right-hand man is Conor McCleary, the man driving the vehicle that forced Sam into the river. He's played by J.A. Preston, who appeared in such films as Body Heat and A Few Good Men, but he's probably more recognised for playing Ozzie Cleveland from Hill Street Blues. McCleary becomes Sam's partner in a way throughout the movie, but when he says that,
Hell, I'm lucky I've lasted this long.
you just know that he'll be dead before the end credits.
Spot the Stiff, ladies and gentlemen. We'll explain later about that one. Pardon? Spot the Stiff.
Oh, sorry.
Have you never played Spot the Stiff?
Probably.
What? I'm sorry, have I said something about Have you never played Spot the Stiff during the film?
Sorry, it's just my dirty mind.
Yes, I know.
Is
Dirty mind. I'm trying to keep it clean.
that basically when in a war film they'll say, oh, you know, when I get back, I'm going to marry that girl of mine, and it's just like, yeah, he'll be dead before.
Yeah, dead. No, come on, lads. It's either that. It's the subtle hints. It's kind of like in Scream when you know that sort of when somebody says "I'll be right back," you know that they're not going to be right back. They're going to be dead. So when you play Spot the Stiff, it's either the signpost to who's going to die, or alternatively, the person is going to suffer a life-changing injury. For example, in a war film, somebody will turn around and they will say, "Come on, lads, let's get round the piano. I used to be a concert pianist before the war."
Gets his fingers blown off.
Here, lads, when I get back, I'm going to go back to my old career as a footballer. I just signed professional forms for Bolton. Legs blown off.
Legs blown off.
Or, alternatively, in the Dam Busters, the dog.
Well, as soon as you see that dog, you think that dog is going to be
That
dead
dog.
as fuck by
Yes.
the next half hour.
Notice how we're not mentioning anything else about the dog, i.e. the name of the dog. Do you know what you remember what the name of the dog is, don't you?
Oh, I'm going vaguely. What?
No, I'm not mentioning it.
You're going to have to write this down. Let's have a look.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, there was a reason why I blocked it from memory. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
Hi there, Hulk Hogan.
Cure is dedicated to fighting terror and preserving the American Constitution where other, more conventional methods have failed. Cure wants Sam to take care of the problems the American legal system can't. He has to be the 11th commandment.
Thou shalt not get away with it.
With Sam Macon now presumed dead, he now goes by the name of Remo Williams, the source of his new name being one of the movie's best jokes, as it's based off something written on the inside of a bedpan.
As you do. Mac takes Remo to a building and tells him to kill the man inside, handing him a pistol. Remo slips in and finds an elderly Korean man, but no one else. He realises the Korean is his target and tries to kill him, but he is too fast. The man is able to dodge every shot that Remo aims at him, and eventually disarms him. Eat your heart out, Neo. He moves with amazing speed, throwing Remo into a nearby piano. Mac enters and asks the Korean man, who is known as Chun,
What do you think?
for a quick assessment. It turns out that Remo is to be trained to become a master assassin under the tutorage of Chun.
And you know what, I was making notes while I was watching the film, and it's at this point I wrote in my notes, you know what, I don't think this lad's Korean. And indeed he isn't. You see, somewhat ironically, one of the film's most controversial decisions, even by 1985 cinema standards, turns out to be one of its best. The casting of Broadway legend Joel Grey to play the role of Chun. Grey, who is a Jewish New York actor and is best known for his role of the Master of Ceremonies in the movie Cabaret, is here buried underneath convincing prosthetics to make him look like an elderly Korean man. And it actually works because the movie actually earned its one and only Academy Award nomination for Best Makeup.
Who would have thunk it? And it is a bit, obviously, you would never see this at the time, and even in the 1980s, it was extremely taboo. David Lean got into a lot of trouble the year previously when he made a passage to India, and Alec Guinness was playing an Indian gentleman.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got into more trouble with Alec Guinness for basically cutting him out of the entire film, but by that standards, there's a shift. There's a shift going away from getting an actor to play a character of a different ethnicity. Gone are the days of
blacking up.
Blacking up. And,
Yeah.
It ain't our fault, mum, and television programs like that. Moving away from that, and this was probably, I would imagine, one of the last ones. I mean, there have been sort of obviously
Tropic Thunder, but I suppose that was done in like a parody, though,
that was
wasn't
done
it?
in parody, and there were various other bits and pieces sort of changing. I mean, I know that the Doctor Strange film got into a lot of trouble when Tilda Swinton played the Ancient One.
Yeah, it's a lot of whitewashing.
Yeah.
Whitewashing. It was clearly meant to be an Asian character, and they've got a white actor playing it. It's a lot of reasons why the Avatar movie, not the James Cameron one, but the Last Airbender got a lot of stick because there was a lot of white actors playing what's meant to be sort of Asian characters.
Chun's demeanour at first is rude and harsh, insulting Remo at every turn and restricting his diet to nothing but rice. However, Remo gradually comes along. They work on balance and breathing, and mutual respect begins to develop, although Chun won't admit it.
Chun tells Remo that the Korean race is the most perfect creature to ever walk the earth, and that he is a practitioner of an ancient fictional form of martial arts known as Sinanju. It is the highest form of martial arts there is. All other martial arts such as karate, kung fu, ninjutsu are nothing but the shadows. But Sinanju is the sun.
In between having him practice his martial arts and parkour skills, Chun also livens up Remo's training with a trip to the Wonder Wheel from the Warriors. Again,
Throw back to a previous episode. But he knows how to unwind at times. Chun loves watching his soap operas, stating that it's America's only true contribution to the arts.
It's a soap opera, for Christ's sake. Shh.
It's also implied that Chun is a master of martial arts sex techniques.
Lesson 36.
36?
The 20 steps designed to bring a woman to sexual ecstasy.
Thankfully, that never gets touched upon later on in the film.
Boy, no. Now, don't get me wrong, the fact that we have a Jewish New York actor plastered in makeup and pretending to be an old Korean martial arts master is very, very dangerously close to being a little bit racist.
That's a slogan for a t-shirt. That was a little bit racist.
That was a little bit racist. But here's the question. Were there no Oriental actors in Hollywood during 1985 that could have played this part?
Well, there was only Jackie Bloody Chan in Hollywood at the time. See, it was 1985. He was attempting to make it into Hollywood. He was beginning to get a little bit pissed off, like his experience on The Protector wasn't a very good one. And shortly after that, he went back off to Hong Kong, where he made the absolute 5-star classic, which is Police Story.
Yes.
But Jackie Chan was still knocking about in America in 1985. So you would have thought, right, we need an Asian actor to play this part. Ooh, what about Jackie Chan? No, thought we'll go for the Jewish New Yorker and stick a load of makeup on him.
Makes sense to me.
Funnily enough, there is some insane stunt work in this movie that Jackie Chan himself would have been proud of, but we'll come on to that later.
Remo's training is coming along quite nicely, even if Chun thinks that his protege moves like a pregnant yak. When they are interrupted by McCleary, who sends Remo off on his first mission, and his only one considering no sequels were ever produced, to take out a crooked military defence contractor George Grove, played by Charles.
I can't believe what
Shoffey.
I'm hearing.
Not exactly the kind of world-dominating supervillain we see in the Bond flicks, another flaw in the film's story.
No.
But Grove's dodgy ways are being investigated by another member of the military,
Damn well
Major Rayner Fleming. And holy crap, it's another recognisable face. It's only Captain Janeway. What the hell? Yet, before her time on Star Trek Enterprise, the wonderful Kate Mulgrew was already an established actress, turning up in the likes of Dallas, Cheers, Murder, She Wrote. She was even in Batman the Animated Series as the voice of Red Claw. And she was even in a Columbo spin-off series called Mrs. Columbo.
Yes, ladies and
Yes.
gentlemen, that's a thing. In the first two-thirds of the movie, when she's introduced, she's actually a very, very strong character. But then stereotypes. Here's the hero, she's not the hero, blah 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 blah. You know, she's kind of like all of the kind of like the agency and what have you that her character had is just basically gone, and then she's the butt of one of Chun's jokes.
Yeah,
and
when,
what a joke, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, I'm sure that you know that they're not implying that Chun is a misogynistic gentleman, but when he says things like
women should stay home and make babies.
The only response from that is a playful chuckle from her, as if writing an actual character reaction was too much to ask. But she goes, women should stay at home and make babies.
Preferably man-child.
Preferably man-child.
That is the full quote. Which then does turn it into slightly into sort of misogynistic.
But then Remo says, oh, sorry, he's Korean. And then she says, oh, is that why he's living in the forest? It's like, fuck's sake.
Women should stay home and make babies, preferably man-child.
Oh, he always talks like that. He's Korean.
Oh, I see. And that explains why he lives in a forest.
It's like you went from misogyny to out-and-out racism and jingoism in around about 30 seconds.
And at one point in the
Wowzers.
film, they said to Remo, also along the lines of, you and your slant-eyed little buddy. It's like, you can't say stuff like that. For fuck's sake.
No, can't say that.
I thought some of the language in The Warriors was aged particularly badly, but that was the 70s. This is the 80s, and this is
10
worse.
years, you know. No, 78, so we're talking about 7 or 8 years after.
1979 for The Warriors, this was
Yeah.
1985.
1985.
So it's like 6 years. Come on, lads, for fuck's sake.
Come on.
Grove does have his Bond-type evil henchmen to rely on, one of which is played by another recognisable face, mainly Patrick Kilpatrick, from the likes of Class of 1999, Last Man Standing, and Minority Report. He's called Stone, and it's not difficult to see why. Yeah, that's not a creepy smile at all, is it? Does make me wonder, though, if your surname was Kilpatrick, would you really name your son Patrick? So, Mrs. Kilpatrick, what should we call our son so he does not get the shit kicked out of him at school?
We're calling Patrick.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah. The Grove weapons demonstration shows grave flaws with the weapons. One of the soldiers is killed during the exercise when his weapon backfires, turning his head into something resembling an explosion at the jam factory. Do you think you could pull his head out of the water, please? Fleming's suspicions are justified after she finds the weapon's bolt and notices that it was this that was mangled during backfire. Grove tells Fleming's boss, General Scott Watson, to bury the report.
Soldier's been killed by your new AR-60.
That's what they get paid for.
It blew up in his face, George. Got the report right here on my desk. There'll have to be an inquiry.
Listen to me, Watson. Uncle Sam gave you your uniform. Just about everything else you got from me. Bury that report.
Grove gets annoyed with Fleming and asks Stone to trail her. Stone gets photos of Fleming, Remo, and Mac, and Grove orders him to kill Remo. Remo notices Stone's somewhat unique diamond dental work too.
Remo uses his new skills to defeat several men hired by Stone atop the Statue of Liberty in an impressively shot fight and stunt sequence which is truly the film's highlight, in which there's a real sense of danger here. There's no green screens here. No, they're all really there doing it. A replica of the statue's upper body was built for the scene to be shot around, with shots of the replica intercut with shots of the actual statue itself, which was undergoing repairs at the time, so it had all the construction girders around it, which is actually what inspired the fight scene in the first place. This is easily the best scene of the entire film, and I feel like the conclusion of the film should have actually built up towards this. Speaking of which, that poor statue has really been mistreated over the years, hasn't it?
It has.
Buried in sand for Planet of the Apes, bathed in slime and made to walk in Ghostbusters 2, destroyed in Independence Day, decapitated in Cloverfield, and of course getting her eyes poked out by helicopter blades and inexplicably getting moved to Gotham City for Batman Forever.
Oh, yes,
what the fuck?
Lady Gotham. Despite Remo's efforts, Stone manages to escape. When Remo complains to Smith and Mac, they tell him they all have an escape plan: Remo's death at the hands of Chun. Feeling angered and betrayed by the news, Remo walks out on Chun. Mac and Remo infiltrate a Grove warehouse, battling extremely clever dogs.
Try to get up here, you sons of bitches.
Remo finds a satellite, which is subsequently destroyed by lasers, alerting the guards. They escape, but Mac is shot in the back. Mac gives Remo a computer disk for Smith to analyse and he's captured, but commits suicide before telling Grove any information of importance. Smith tells Remo to go after Grove. He meets Fleming at Mount Promise, and they are locked in a steel glass chamber by one of Grove's goons. After watching the two nearly fall unconscious from the gas, Stone dons a mask and walks into the chamber to finish Remo off himself. Remo grapples with him briefly, ripping off his mask and using Stone's diamond tooth to cut the glass to escape.
During their escape from the facility, they find Chun and steal a truck with no brakes. Remo and Fleming jump out, but Chun cannot open the door. He survives this, somehow.
In Korea, door handles do not break.
The military chase after Remo and start firing at him. Remo rides a tree trunk, being pulled through the woods on a cable. He drops the log and overturns the jeep with Groden in it. He survives this, somehow. He dodges bullets fired by Grove and disarms him. He's clearly learnt his lessons well from Chun. He tosses Grove onto the jeep and lights it on fire, walking away as it explodes, killing Grove. Remember, cool guys don't look at explosions.
On the beach, Remo finds Fleming, who tells him that Chun went looking for him. They see Chun surrounded by troops. Suddenly, Chun runs across the water to the dock, telling Remo, "You must run very fast." Fleming asks who they are, and Remo responds by saying,
You believe we're the good guys?
They sail off, with Chun saying that they must hurry so that he can catch the latest episode of his favourite soap opera, as the film draws to a conclusion.
Chun, you're incredible. No! I am better than that.
So, what have we watched here? One of the great shames of 80s action cinema is that this film often gets forgotten about. You had never heard of this.
No.
You had never heard
Never
of this
heard of
film.
this. Never heard of this at all. So when you suggested, let's do Remo Williams, I was like, I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry, what?
What is that?
And then it was just one of those. It was just one of those things where you go into sort of your local entertainment retailer with 3 initials in this country.
We're not allowed to say.
We're not allowed to say.
Other retailers are available.
Other retailers are available, but most of them are online these days. And when they've got an offer on and etc., you say, "Oh, hang on a minute, I haven't seen that in a while." And Remo Williams was there from our friends at Arrow.
It's bloody Arrow again, isn't it?
It's Arrow again. It's Arrow again.
You two on speaking terms again.
They've started returning my calls, which is good.
And you've got a Doctor Who t-shirt on as well. So you've even managed to stick a Doctor Who reference in the episode.
Splink!
I got this, took it home, watched it straight away. It was like, actually, you know something. Next day, brought it into work.
Yeah, you lent it to me.
And I just went, have this.
Borrow this. So I took
Borrow
it
this.
home.
See me next week.
I was like, ooh, yes.
Yeah. And as we said, sadly, the movie never realised its full potential with such an ambitious title as The Adventure Begins, which implies a series of these films that sadly never came. However, there was a pilot for a TV series that was produced that was never actually picked up. New actors were cast in the lead roles, but it didn't get any better when casting Chun, however. This time the Korean martial arts master was played by Roddy McDowall.
Yeah, because that's the first person you think of. It's like, right, we need a guy to play a Korean martial arts master. Oh, let's get Cornelius from Planet of the Feckin' Apes.
Makes no sense whatsoever, but you know, it's Roddy McDowall.
There has been a trend in Hollywood for the last several years to do remakes or reboots of old 80s action movies that were successful the first time round in an attempt to cash in on the established brand to ride that wave of nostalgia. For example, RoboCop, Total Recall, Conan the Barbarian, and not just action movies either. Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, The Evil Dead, Poltergeist. And unfortunately, none of the remakes were anywhere near as good as the originals. And Hollywood's not learning its lesson. That's likely not going to end anytime soon. Reboots have been planned for years on the likes of An American Werewolf in London, Akira, Big Trouble in Little China, which might be good because it's likely to be starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, but we'll see. The Crow. Apparently Jason Momoa was going to be set up for that. He's obviously not learned his lesson from Conan the Barbarian. It's like, oh, you know,
Jason Momoa as the Crow.
As the Crow, but last I heard he'd actually backed out of it.
That's fine then.
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, Escape from New York, Highlander. Last time I heard of Highlander, you were going to have Ryan Reynolds as Connor McLeod and Vinnie Jones as the Kurgan. Thankfully, that seems to have died down as well. Police Academy, Roadhouse, to name but a few. There's also been talk of doing a reboot of Flash Gordon, which, to be honest, I'm only gonna be happy with that if you do a reboot of Flash Gordon, then you do a reboot of The Phantom, which was very good in the 90s. It had a lot of promise but didn't sort of get picked up. And then you do an action-adventure movie starring Lofar and Mandrake. Yes, folks, I'm suggesting they do a Defenders of the Earth extended universe.
Now,
and
there's an idea I can get behind.
And we have a Defenders of the Earth movie with those 4 guys in. With Ming the Merciless being like the baddie in the previous films, and that's why they all get together. That's the only time I'll be happy with seeing a reboot of Flash Gordon, if you're going to go full hog and give us Defenders of the Earth at the end.
And this seems like an opportune time to say this. Roll the Defenders of the Earth opening credits.
Master of magic spells and illusions, enemies crumble in fear and confusion. Mandrake, Defenders of the Earth. His strength is a legend. His skills.
Brilliant stuff.
What's one else? Can we have Mask turned into a film as well? You've done G.I. Joe, you've done Transformers. Can we have Mask as well?
Mobile Armored Strike Command.
Yeah.
Command with a K.
That's the one. That's the one.
And
can we get a He-Man movie that's not shit, please? Anyway.
Oh, no, leave that alone. No. Here's one. Although New Shira series on Netflix is actually really, really good.
It does look very good from what I've seen. Yes.
Really, really good. The problem with this is that most of the remakes fail to deliver. They are always compared unfavourably to the originals, and the huge fan base that was attached to the original movies usually react negatively to the idea of their favourite movie being remade. I mean, you only have to look at the recent Ghostbusters film for that, even though the cast on that is absolutely brilliant.
It is apparently, if you can judge it on its own merits, it is a very funny film. But I think the problem is that it's a reboot of Ghostbusters, which people weren't wanting. They didn't want a reboot of Ghostbusters. They wanted Ghostbusters 3.
Yep.
And I think for a lot of reasons, people have just flat out refused to watch the film. I myself haven't watched the film, not because I'm like Chun and I'm a horrible misogynistic person, but because it just doesn't hold any interest for me. Now, with that in mind, why not try to reboot an existing movie, one that not a lot of people have heard of, myself included before we started doing this review. Do a reboot of an existing movie that had a lot of potential but didn't quite meet up to that potential, like this, like The Phantom, like I mentioned earlier. Or something that had moderate success and room for improvement if it was remade today and could be expanded upon, like Westworld, for example. The original Westworld movie had a lot of scope to be expanded upon. They've expanded upon that to the point where it's now a TV series. People certainly weren't kicking off over Westworld getting adapted into a TV show.
No, not at all.
Also, in fact, do a reboot on a property that, if it gets remade, it's not going to upset a lot of fans of the originals, as seen with Ghostbusters, and what we'd likely see if The Crow, Highlander, Police Academy, etc., got remade.
Until then, we have this to remind us of what almost was and what maybe might be.
Ta-da! Every man is occasionally blessed with luck. Now, down. What is your problem? Whoa! Pathetic.
You know, when Williams goes down the reboot route of having a new film or a TV show or something like that. But I do feel he is a character that deserves a second chance.
Absolutely.
Because the first film, whilst it has its flaws, it does have a lot of potential and it is very enjoyable.
As I think we said in the main review, it's fun.
It's a lot of
and
fun.
it knows it's fun.
Yeah, and it made me laugh. It made me laugh, which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
So for that, for my rating, I will give Remo Williams a thumbs up.
And I too shall give Remo Williams a thumbs up.
So that is it for another
That's it.
episode of We Need to Talk About ...
Yeah.
Stay tuned because coming up next we have our Christmas special. It's been a full year that we've been doing this show. Good God Almighty!
Yeah, who knew? Who knew that this was going?
We sat down in that room and started talking about Zardos. Who
In the
knew?
bunker.
In the bunker.
In the bunker.
Who knew that it would come to this? So, as you know, on the Big Daddy D reviews, I have covered some proper stinkers when it comes to Christmas movies, and this year will be no exception. Be afraid, be very afraid.
I'm so looking forward to this
Because
one.
previously I've looked at the likes of Jack Frost, not the Michael Keaton one, the one with the mutant killer snowman, and its equally deplorable sequel. I have looked at the Star Wars Holiday Special. I have even looked at...
Happy Life Day, everybody.
Happy Life Day, everyone. And I've even looked at the atrocious Santa Buddies movie as well.
Is that the one with the dogs?
That's the one with the dogs, yes.
Oh, God.
This time, we're going to take a look at something that's even more deplorable than all of those put together. Stay tuned for what's coming up.
I don't even want to mention it. It's so good. But yes, we'll leave it there, I think.
Right, we're going to get on with some drinking in
Serious
the
drinking in the...
in the teepee. Catch you next time, folks.
Is Ragnar ready for a bit of raping and pillaging?
I think that might be
To the longboats.
I'll just get my helmet on. For Asgard, by Valhalla, by Thor, and by Odin.
You got to keep that hiccup in for that one. That was really, really good. He's only had half a one.
Yeah.
One.
They're going down very quickly.
It's very nice, actually.
Very, yes.
Very, very nice.
What is this? This is Thor. Is this Thor's
Pale Ale.
Thor's Pale Ale?
Thor's Pale Ale.
Very nice. But it's-
Brewed in the gardens of Asgard itself.
Yeah, and who are we to doubt that? It's just going down very, very quick for me. That's all. Ooh, right. Okay, we're gonna catch up with some quality drinking.
Yeah.
See you next time. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to the channel.
The shameless plug
please
thing.
leave a like, leave a comment, share this with all your friends. All the usual.
Well,
malarkey.
again, as always, get in touch. We are available.
Please get in touch,
Please
you
do.
fuckers. Give us some money. Well, how many times do we have to promote your shit before you finally get in touch with
Can I
us?
just say it's not shit, by the way. It's really, really good.
We are quite prepared to suckle on your corporate teat. Just let us do it, please.
And also Eureka. That would be nice as well.
Oh yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, we could go highbrow. Nah, we could go
I'm quite
highbrow.
happy to go lowbrow. Godfrey Ho, call me. You know you want to.
And with that cut.
Right, bye.